Hi class, this is Corrine. I am trying to record you a video about how to do the diet analysis worksheets. So they're under the assignments tab, or for this particular semester, they're under week 7. And there's 2 documents you need. You need the diet instructions and you need the diet worksheet. And so what they're going to look like is this. Here are the diet instructions, and you're going to use the instructions to tell you exactly what to do. And then you're going to use this worksheet to put your answers. And so you're going to turn in the worksheet, not the instructions, but the instructions are vital to completing the worksheet. So if we look at our instructions, what we see is that the very first step is the 3-day food diary. And you guys already turned this in last week. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the food records that you've already made, and you're going to enter them into Diet and Wellness Plus. So it says to log into Diet and Wellness Plus and create a profile. And so I'm going to go on my screen to my Diet and Wellness Plus, which is right here. And if I were on the home page, it would have me create a profile. And so that's what I would do. Right here, it would prompt you to make a profile. I've already made one, so this is mine, but you can see it has my date of birth, my height, my approximate weight, etc. And you only have to fill in this top part of the profile. But if you want, so you only have to fill in this part. Wow, that was really interesting drawing. But if you want, you can also fill out this bottom part, but you don't have to. So you're going to create your profile. Then you're going to go back to your instructions and see what to do next, and they're right here. And so then it says you're going to track your diet. So you're going to select a date. You're going to make sure you have a different date for each of your days, and you're going to start entering your foods. And there's a very specific way to do that. So I'm going to go back to that program and show you how we're going to do that. So let's just minimize this a little bit. We're going to go back to Diet Wellness Plus, and you're going to click right here for Track Diet. And so I'm going to select today's date, which is right here. So 7/3/18. And I'm going to start with what I ate for breakfast. So I had a scone. What type of scone was it? It was probably not whole wheat. It did have some raspberries on it. Of course, I don't know if I'm going to find that. I might find that. Let's keep going. It was not from Great Harvest Bread or Panera. It was from Black Horse. I'm not going to find Black Horse in this database. So I might just look for scone raspberry, and it says nothing can be found. So this is a common issue you'll find, is that it won't find the exact food that you've eaten. So you're going to pick the best next thing and the next best thing. And so I just picked regular scone. I had one item. If you knew the weight of the scone, you could do that, but I just had one. It was for breakfast. I'm going to say add. And so it said my scone was 149 calories. You can kind of guess how much it should be. I know that my scone was probably more than that because portion sizes are big. So I'm actually going to say that it was 2 so that the calories are accurate. So now I said that I had 2 items of a scone, which were 297 calories total. And that's been added to my breakfast. Then I'm going to add something else. I had blueberries, which whole fruits are usually pretty easy to find. And I had about a half of a cup. They were also for breakfast. So I'm going to add them. And there they are. They have 41 calories. That seems right. Now I'm going to pretend I had lunch, and I'm going to put salad. Well, what type of salad? Tuna salad, potato salad, mixed salad, greens. I have to be more specific. So I made my salad at home. So I'm going to say that it was made with mixed salad greens, and there were 2 cups of greens. You can then change the time that you had it. So I had it for lunch, and I'm going to add that. What else did I have in my salad? I had tomato. Oops, tomato. Tomato. Spelling is important, as you can see. They were red tomatoes. I had about one. It was not for breakfast. It was lunch. And I hit add. And so you can add your foods just like this, enough to have a whole day's worth of meals. And then once you do that, you're going to choose a different day on the calendar to use. So I did enter some foods for today, but we're actually going to go back to some foods that I previously entered. And I entered foods for days in August. And I have complete meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack for the 26th. The 28th, so I have 2 weekdays, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. And I have one weekend day, which is the 30th. So the first step is creating your profile. The second step is entering all your foods. Once you have entered all your foods, it's going to save it for you, and then you'll be able to use the Reports tab. So we're going to go back to our instructions right here, and we've entered all our foods, and then it says we can save the food lists for the 3 days. And it tells you specifically which reports to save. I personally like printing things, and I like to print these reports, so this really helps me, but you don't have to print your reports. And so one of the first reports that you're going to save is this report called the 3-day average report. And within the 3-day average report are all of these individual parts. So these are not separate reports, but they're within your 3-day average report. And this gives you some instructions on how to print them. But if we go over here, I can show you what to do. We go to the Reports tab, and we're going to pick 3-day average report. This is one of the most important reports. And it's really important to check your dates on this. So you're going to make sure that the dates that you have 3 days of food for are entered correctly. This is one of the #1 mistakes that students make, is not selecting their 3 days. So you're going to do that. Next, it says save as PDF. If you actually click save as PDF, it gives you a link that has instructions for your particular computer how to do it. But what you do is you hit print. Then instead of a printer, you do save as PDF. You hit save, and it asks you to name it. So you'd put your name and that this is your 3-day average report. You'd save it onto the desktop of your computer, and that would be one of the reports that you're going to submit. So I cannot grade your diet and wellness program, diet analysis project, without this report. So that's how you're going to save this report. And then this report has all of these different sections. It has the intake versus goals section, the DRI report section, all of these different sections that we saw right here. And we're going to use this report for much of your project. The next 3 reports, you have 3 more reports that you're going to save, are saturated fat, sodium, and a nutrient of your choice. So the first reports you're going to save are your food intake reports. The next report you're going to save is your 3-day average report. And the final 3 reports you're going to save are your source analysis reports. So again, we're going to go to this Reports tab. You're going to hit Source Analysis. You're going to make sure that your date range is correct. I need to change this to the 2nd because I don't want it to include the foods that I just entered for today. And you're going to select a nutrient right here. The first one you have to select is saturated fat. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to click here, save as PDF. You would call this something like this and save it to your computer. You would do the same thing for sodium. So I have a report for sodium. Again, my dates are correct, and I'm going to save that to my computer. And then I can do a report for any nutrient of my choice and save that to my computer. So you're going to have 3 reports right there. So we've saved all our reports, and those reports you're going to update, you're going to upload to Canvas with your worksheet, which is right here. So you have to upload the worksheet and all of those reports to Canvas for grading. And so it says to do that, you're actually going to wait till you fill out the worksheet to upload those reports so you can upload them all together. Next, it says to answer the questions on step 1 on the worksheet to get you familiar with the reports. So step 1 on the worksheet tells you specifically where to look for the answers. So on your DRI report page, well, remember that we had a whole bunch of reports within our 3-day average. So you can either click on the 3-day average or click on the DRI report. I like just clicking on the 3-day average and opening it up. And then scrolling through it. So the first part of the 3-day average is this intake versus goals. The next part is the DRI report, and it's asking us, what is our BMI? And so right here on my DRI report, I can find my BMI. The next question, I have some of these questions kind of memorized. So the next question asks us, what was our DRI for calories? And so what we're going to do is we are going to look right here for our DRI for calories. And it is right here. So it says use the intake versus goals or use the DRI report. You could use either of the reports to find the calories. It's also found right down here. So my DRI for calories is found right here in kind of the middle of the screen. So we have determined our BMI, we've determined our DRI for calories, and then I'm going to show you these steps on our reports. So our next questions want us to use the DRI report, the macronutrient report for percentage of calories from carbs, the fat breakdown report for calories from saturated fat, intake versus goals for DRI for vitamins, my plate analysis for percent of fruits, intake spreadsheet for sugar, intake versus goals for DRI reference, and source analysis for saturated fat and sodium. So there are no instructions for this first step. The instructions are within the step itself. And so I'm going to show you how to find all these things based on our report. And remember that we're still looking at our 3-day average report. So the next thing says go to macronutrient ranges. And so I'm going to scroll down a little farther till I find macronutrient ranges, and they're right there. And it says what percent of calories are coming from carbs. And so I find this right here, and that's what I would put in. It next wants us to move down and find out what percent of calories come from saturated fat. So I can move my little circle right here. That's in the fat breakdown report, and we have 14% of our calories coming from saturated fat. Next, it's asking about DRI for vitamins and minerals. And it says use the intake versus goals. So we're going to scroll back up. Remember the intakes versus goals was this at the top. And we're going to look at our vitamins. Any vitamin, we're going to look at our vitamins and minerals. So any vitamin that has less than 100% over here, and any mineral that has less than 100%, we're going to list this. And this is actually what we're going to use to answer 2 questions on our worksheet, but this is the first of those questions. So you would list all of these vitamins and minerals on that part of the worksheet. Next, it says, how many cups of fruit did you eat? So you're going to go back down, and it wants you to look at the My Plate analysis, which is right here, and find how many cups of fruit that you ate. So if you look right here, you want to make sure you're in the actual column, and I had 5.7 cups of fruit. Next, it says how many grams of sugar did you consume on your first day. So you're going to go to your intake spreadsheet, which is right here. You're going to see that these nutrients are listed in blue, and you're going to scroll down just a little bit until you get to sugar. And you're going to find that you consumed 138.3 grams of sugar on your first day, or that's what I consumed. And we're going to do more with this sugar analysis later on, but that would be that question. Next, it says, what is your intake versus goal calorie difference? So again, this is something you're going to use multiple times during this report. So we're going to go back to our intake versus goal, and we have to do some math here. So I have an example, but we're going to do 2137 calories, which was my DRI, minus what I actually ate, which was 2032. And I'm going to get 2137 minus 2032. I'm going to get 105 calories. So that was the difference. And that's what you would write on step number 8, or number 8 of step 1. Next, step 1 is wanting you to go to some of these different reports. So it's having us go to the source reports for saturated fat and sodium. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go here to saturated fat. We're going to scroll down and try to figure out which food contributed the most to saturated fat. This is so weird because I do not remember eating a cheeseburger. That is really, really weird. Anyways, on this particular report, we've got cheddar cheese pieces. And so that has 19% saturated fat. Anything else? Nope. So we've got 19% saturated fat, and that's what we're going to choose. Again, we want to make sure the dates are correct. Oh, look, they were not. Maybe that's part of the deal. So they should be starting at the 26th. And let's see what will happen now. The cheddar cheese is only 10% if I got those dates correct. And the ice cream is actually higher in saturated fat. So it's really important to check the dates on this report. Next, you're going to look at the sodium one. Again, check your dates, make sure they're correct, and find out which food is contributing the highest amount of sodium. It was my sandwich on this particular day, which is very normal for a sandwich to contribute a very high amount of sodium. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to this, and I've showed you how to answer all these steps in step 1. Next, we're going to look at the instructions for step 2. And so it says, step 2 of the worksheet, DRI goals profile. This is part of the 3-day average report. So it's telling you within the 3-day average report to look at the DRI goals. And you're going to calculate a new DRI goal for yourself. And so these are the steps to do it. And you need to follow these steps carefully, but your DRI goal should be your DRI plus or minus 250 calories, and it should be written as a range. You're then going to calculate your amount of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fat you have. Your monounsaturated fat is the same as your DRI for saturated fat. And so that's the bottom range of the goal. And then the top range of the goal is that DRI for saturated fat times 1.5. Polyunsaturated fat is going to be the same as your goal for saturated fat. And then alcohol, there's different recommendations for men and women. So make sure to read how to calculate these and fill them in on step 2 of your report. You will have these questions, A, B, C, and D, on both your diet analysis part 1 and your diet analysis part 2. And so it's really important that you do them correctly because it's an easy way to gain points, and many students actually miss points here, which can hurt their grade and also indicate to me that they did not read the directions. So moving on to step 3. It says intakes versus goals. So it's telling you to look at your intakes versus goals, and it's asking you to decide which macronutrients you met your goals for and which did not, and then list 3 sources of each where you could improve on. So we're going to look right here, and we're going to go back to our intakes versus goals. And so we're going to look at the macronutrients, which remember are protein, carbs, and fat. And so I'm going to see that my intake was much higher than my DRI for protein. My intake on this particular report, let me make sure this is actually the right day. Make sure this is the right day. You always want to make sure this is the right day. It is. It's just so weird. But my intakes were much higher for protein. They were low in this particular day for carbs, and they were within the fat ranges. So I'm going to write high protein within for carbs and low on fat. Or sorry, they're actually not low on fat. They're low in carbs. Let me get this straight. They are high in protein, low in carbs, and within for fat. So that's what I'm going to write on my worksheet. Next, it is asking if you met the nutrients, all the different nutrients. And so for some of them, if you didn't meet your goals, that's perfectly okay. Like it's okay if you didn't eat enough fat. It's okay if you didn't eat enough alcohol. But for others, you definitely don't want to exceed the goals on. So that's what you'll write here. Step 4, breakdown, fat breakdown. So did your intake fall within the ranges for saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, or was it out of range? And then you're going to list 3 foods for each. So you're going to remember that you made new fat goals. So this is really important. And you're going to look at your goals that you created and that you filled in right here specifically, and make sure that you fell within those goal ranges. So looking at the report, my DRI for saturated fat was 23.9 grams. And so I had 26.81 grams. So I was actually over my intake for saturated fat. Monounsaturated fat is going to be a range. And the range for monounsaturated fat is going to be the DRI for saturated fat, which is 23.9 times 1.5. So my range for monounsaturated fat should be 23.9 to 35. And it's actually 35.8. And I was too low in monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats are good for us, so that's actually a bad thing. Polyunsaturated fats, my goal is going to be the same as my DRI for saturated fats. I should have had 23.9 grams. I had 8.32 grams, so I was too low. So what this is indicating is that I'm eating too many saturated fats and not enough poly or monounsaturated fats. And so what your worksheet is going to do is encourage you to write new goals on how you think you could meet monounsaturated fats or limit saturated fats. So you're going to need to look in your book to find out which food sources are significant in that. Next, step 5. So again, all the instructions are right here. Step 5 is having you look at different food groups. And if you fall between 75 to 125% in a particular food group, you're going to say that you're meeting the goal. If you're less than 75% or higher than 125%, you're going to say that you're exceeding the goal. And so in order to do that, we're going to go to my 3-day average report. And again, I need to make sure that my days are correct. And so I'm going to go right here to my food groups, which is my MyPlate analysis. And I'm going to look and I'm going to identify which food groups I'm meeting goal in and which food groups I'm too high or too low. So grains, I'm too low. Vegetables, I'm okay because I'm within that 75 to 125. Fruits, I'm too high. Dairy, I'm too low. And protein, I'm okay. And so then you're going to write that down on your worksheet right here, and food groups that you're meeting the goal. And then you're going to write 3 foods for each one that are not already on your food list on ways to improve. Next, step 6. I do have a whole video for step 6, and I have instructions right here as well. This does require some math, and so there's examples here. But what step 6 is asking you to do is look at the sugar consumed for every single day and find out what percentages of your calories came from sugar those days. So we're going to use the same 3-day average report, and we're going to start with our first day. And so these are the foods that I ate my first day, and I'm going to scroll down just a tiny bit until I find that sugar column, which we already used one time. And I'm going to identify foods that are empty calorie sweets and have sugar. And so you do not want to put foods that contain significant nutrients in this list. And so I'm not going to put sourdough that has nutrients. I'm not going to put cheese. I'm not going to put my bagel. I'm not going to put cream cheese, even though maybe I should. I'm not going to put fruit salad because fruit is healthy. I'm not going to put Diet Coke because it doesn't have any sugar. I am definitely going to put this cookie. Not going to put root beer. Not going to put Caesar salad. Not going to put my sandwich. Not going to put chips, even though that's kind of a mediocre one. Maybe I actually would put chips. That would be okay if you decided to put chips, or if you decided not to. I'm not going to put honeydew. I'm not going to put tortilla. So on this particular day, 8 grams of sugar came from empty calorie foods. And another thing that you need to look at for this particular day was how many total calories there were. So sometimes during this assignment, it might be helpful for you to be using scratch paper and writing these things down. And so on this particular day, I had 8 grams of sugar from an empty calorie food, and I had 1,988 calories total, which I can see from right here. This is my calorie column. So you can go back to your instructions and read exactly how to do this, but I'm also going to explain it in this video. So we're going to put the date, and I think this is 8/26. We're going to put what food it was. We're going to put the grams of sugar that came from the food. Then we're going to put, if there were multiple foods, you would add them all up, but there was just one food in my case. Then we're going to calculate the calories. So we're going to say 8 grams sugar times 4 calories per gram is, so we're only calculating the calories that came from sugar. We're not calculating the calories in that entire cookie, just the sugar calories. So it's 32 calories from sugar alone. And then we're going to take that 32 sugar calories and divide it by the total calories that particular day. And we're going to multiply by 100 to convert to a percent. So we're going to have 32 divided by 1988 times 100, and I get 1.6%. So on that day, I had 1.6% of my calories coming from added sugars, which really isn't that bad. I probably could go without the cookie, but it really wasn't that bad. So that's what you're going to do for every single day of your sugar analysis. And so if I go back to my report and I look through my day 2, I can look just right here and identify which foods are going to have empty calorie sugars in them, and it's going to be this ice cream. So I'm going to find out how much sugar in that ice cream and then look at the calories for that day. We can scroll down to day 3 and see which foods that I ate had empty calories. Juice is okay if it's 100% juice. If it's not 100% juice, then I would count it. Here I had an ice cream sandwich, so I would put that in my day 3 report. So you're going to do that for all 3 days. Next, protein source comparison. So again, on your worksheet, there are exact instructions for how to figure out your protein. What you're going to do is you're going to, again, look at each of your days where you consumed foods, and you're going to determine which foods came from plant protein and which came from animal protein. So we don't have to scroll down very far to get to our protein column, and this is my first day. And what I recommend doing is I recommend printing this so that you can draw and write on it, or using scratch paper, but printing this whole report would probably be the easiest. So I'm going to say bread comes from plants. So I'm going to write a P. Cheese comes from animals. Bagel mostly comes from plants. Cream cheese comes from animals. You don't have to actually include it if it's less than 2 grams. You can just ignore it. That would be the easiest thing to do. But if you really want to add them all up, you can, but you don't have to add up the ones that are less than 2 grams. So I personally wouldn't, because it will be less work. Fruit salad definitely comes from plants. Caesar salad with dressing, this is a little complicated. Obviously, the salad itself comes from plants, but Caesar dressing has anchovies in it, which comes from animals. So what I would say here is mixed, M for mixed, or C for combo. And then the sandwich is also going to have calories from both animal and plant foods. So I would put M for mixed or C for combo. My flour tortilla came from plants. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add up the protein in all the plant foods, and you're going to add up the protein. Here's more plant foods. You're going to add up the protein in all the animal foods, and you're going to have separate columns for protein coming from plant and animal foods. And then what you're going to do with the mixed foods is you're actually going to divide that protein content by 2 and split it up between the 2 days. So it tells you how to do that here, and it's laid out from you here. So you're going to list the foods that had plant protein, list the foods with animal protein, list the mixed ones, total protein from combo sources, and then total from plant, total from animal, etc. So you're going to do that for each individual day. Next, step 8, energy balance. So you're going to look and see if you consumed more calories on the weekdays versus the weekends. You're going to comment on if this was typical for you or not. You're going to look at your DRI intake versus your DRI goals. If you consumed more than your DRI goal, that is going to contribute to weight gain. If you consumed less than your DRI goal, that is going to contribute to weight loss. And you're going to look at your DRI and decide if you think this is reasonable for you, or maybe you think this is way more than you would actually need or way less than you would actually need. Sometimes, depending on how you've entered your profile, it can under or overestimate calorie needs. How would you maintain energy balance? And I believe there's one more question about empty calories. So there is a question asking about empty calories or discretionary calories, and those can be found right here. Discretionary calories come from foods that don't have a lot of nutrients. So my actual intake of discretionary calories was like twice my goal, which means I'm eating too many foods that are really nutrient poor. And I should switch to nutrient-rich foods. Going along further with the directions, now we're going to our sodium reports and our saturated fat reports. So you're going to be going to the reports tab, And again, the source analysis area, you're going to check that your dates are correct, and it has some questions from the different source analysis areas of your reports. You're going to fill those out here. And right here for saturated fat, right here for sodium, and then here for the nutrient of your choice. So that could be any nutrient. Then there's a little reflection on the assignment. And then last but not least, there's an extra credit opportunity. And I highly recommend that you do this extra credit opportunity. It's remaking your menu to make it better and closer fitting your needs. And it's easy, and you get 10 points. So things I look for in this extra credit are, did your new menu improve from your previous menu? And did you include all the food groups on your new menu? So with my particular menu, I could look at my 3-day average report. I could go to my first day, and some changes I would make from my first day would be to substitute water for soda. I would increase my vegetables. Instead of refined grains, I would have whole wheat bread in the morning and a whole wheat tortilla in the evening. Instead of chips, potato chips, I might do a baked potato. And instead of a sandwich that's eaten out, I might do a more kind of homemade sandwich at home. I would probably get rid of the cookie and put something else. So that would be how I could make over my day. So all in all, that is the assignment, and hopefully that was helpful for you. Remember that you have to submit multiple reports as well as the worksheet in order for me to grade it. Okay, hope this helped, and I will talk to you soon.